But intellect took over. The rational mind, and that's just ingrained in your culture, and you're screwed just because you're German, you know? It took over, and it's gonna override and override and override. I'm not gonna go to the Christmas village, but I'm gonna build one. And so the mind, the logical aspect, overrides and overrides and overrides, so that we never really live true to our values, our true values, and most of us don't know, and that's our assignment next with the values. But what are your eulogy virtues, and are you living up? Your eulogy virtues are gonna fall into this. If I wanna be a person of integrity, then what I say and what I do has to be congruent. I have this assignment, I can tell you, I do a lot of ceremony in my practice. And I call it the Road to Character assignment. I can bring in mine tomorrow. It's a very simple assignment, but it's very powerful. I took a picture of a road, like any road. Mine just happened to have like a sunset. And on the road, on little pieces of paper, I taped all the qualities of my eulogy virtues that I wanted. And every day I step on that, I open my sacred space, and I work on one. And at the end of the day, I check in and say, okay, balance was the thing I was working on that today. Where was I in balance? Where was I out of balance today? If I wanted to be in integrity, where was I in integrity, or where was I not of integrity? But if we're not even clear what our philosophy is or what our eulogy virtues are, how can we ever be healthy, first of all? And how can we direct our body? How can we direct the mind to that space? So that's the assignment of the spine roller. You have this tool and you have zero knowing on how to use it. So if she knows that following her intuition is important, then what do? If that's your philosophy, then you have now an action. I signed up for someone to teach me how to listen to my intuition. When I have an intuitive thought, I follow it. Then there's health. The spirit, the mind, and the body. But if I want to be intuitive and I want to follow my gut, but my logic is always going to override, I'm ill. So I want to pick on her for a moment, because she shared, when she came in, she shared that she's gaining weight at a rapid rate. And she's about 28 pounds. Listen to what she said. I'm 2 pounds away from the highest weight I've ever been. What did she say about her birth?
About her brother having a car accident.
2 days. Oh, 2 days. Nothing we say is insignificant. How big was your tumor? How big was your tumor?
2.7 centimeters.
Okay. Mine was 2.5. My sister died when she was 25. My trauma happened to me when I was 25. Our body is a loyal servant to our mind. She's 2 pounds from her highest weight. And then I asked her, how old were you when you started this job?
29.
She was 29 years old. She was in Portugal, and she sees something, and she's like, that's what I want to do for my life.
Okay, I decided. 29 is when I started physically. I decided at 28.
Okay.
So that's 2 years.
2 years.
Short, so 3.
And she goes into this diving, and what did she do? She's like, I'm not going to go back to school, but I'm going to get a certification. In 5 months, she got the certification for diving. She knew what she wanted, and she went after it. There was health, but she becomes too good, and now she's in this administrative job. That's not what she wants to be doing. And now she's putting on 28 pounds, because at 28, she had her life. She was living her health. Now she's not. So that weight is for each year, accumulation, or whatever, however it's manifested. I'm just giving you the broad strokes related to her following her health. She was in Portugal on vacation, right? She sees some truck and some, I didn't even understand everything she said. I was just listening from beyond. She's like, that's what I want to do, and she knew. She just finished college, she had rearranged her life. She didn't listen to her logic, she didn't listen to the values of money. She went and became a diver. She had health. And since she betrayed that, she has sickness. It's just trickled down into the body. So that's why every single one of us is sick, whether we have a physical manifestation of it or not. It just takes time until it turns into a cancer. I had a microbiology teacher years ago, and he said every single one of us, if we live long enough, will have cancer. We all have cancer already. The thing is that the cells, whatever you know more about me than the body, but are doing whatever they do and it's not diagnosed. Ken, what's your philosophy of life?
To serve, to know my higher self, to accept the universe's plan of perfect imperfection, and to know I am all.
Okay. To serve. The mouse.
Yeah.
Service is beautiful, and service is a fourth chakra sentiment. But prior to the fourth chakra, we have a second chakra, and we have a third chakra. And we'll cover the chakras, but everyone has a basic understanding of the chakras. In the second chakra, we have our lower nature. We have our desires. In our third chakra, we have our self-worth. We have our power. And then, once we understand our lower nature and our desires, our karma, once we understand our self-worth and who we are, then and only then can we serve. Prior to that, service is not selfless. It's selfish. Because it's selfish because it's taking your true worth. When you minimize and you serve the other, and you have not served yourself and owned your own power, it's selfish, it's not selfless. So that service has to be to yourself. You have to recognize everything is dual. So I have a girlfriend who's like obsessed with volunteering. She lives in New York. She must be on every committee. She works for Yoga for Cancer and Cancer this and Cancer that. She's on 20 million. And cancer is an ego disease. And yeah, I know, right? It's an identification with self in an erroneous way. So at the root of what's there is feeling, I want to be so much of service so people don't really realize, so to speak, how selfish I am or how self-centered or how egotistical or whatever. So we behave either the exact same way as the separation, which I'll talk to you about, let's say your parents, or we behave the exact opposite. So to serve in its essence is extremely beautiful. It's something that in any philosophy is part of the paradigm of any universal philosophy or spiritual form of living. But you have to question how much you serve and at what price. Do you serve the other at a cost to you? And because he wants to be a mouse and because he was too big for his mom's body, if only I shrink, if only I'm smaller. Maybe you have a big ego and I know, right? I call mine the my Jafar complex. Have you guys seen Aladdin?
Yeah.
When Jafar turns into the big, powerful genie, that's my ego. And I gotta put it in a little bitty living box. So when there's that big of an ego, the opposite tendency with behavior is, let me minimize. But you're not doing service in that respect because you're minimizing yourself and you're making yourself shrink and be small so that you don't hurt your mother physically, so that you don't hurt the other, but in essence, it's a third chakra issue because you hurt yourself and you don't own your true worth. So those words are very key to where our wound lies, to where that separation lies.
So,
Yes.
just to understand, so does that mean that he has to be more selfish, is what you're saying? Or he is being selfish, or?
Okay, so what you do in a form like that, and this comes with evolution, and I have a thing here, evolution to involution, so you can kind of see that. When we say something, or we are, like you said earlier, I love to care for people. That's why you chose your profession. It is absolutely, in a hospital no less, where trauma happens to her parents, the divide and conquer mentality. There was a risk of her mom not seeing her kid. I mean, she had to go back to the wound. You had to go back to the source and make sure that your people are taken care of. I don't know if you translate for people that, I mean, you're in Miami, so most people speak Spanish, but maybe you translate, maybe you're the one that gets them, the social worker, maybe you're the one that manipulates the paperwork to make sure that everything is in order. You are healing your wound in that. So our behaviors are constantly demonstrating what is at the root, what unmet need, what lack is there. Sometimes it's going to be that blatant. My mother is in a hospital. I might have lost her. She might have been deported. I'm going to go back to the scene of the crime. I'm going to nurture people in the hospital. Yours is pretty basic. It's straightforward. You're doing exactly what? He's doing the flip. We're going to do a questionnaire for the mental dosha. And you'll see, always, sometimes, never. Whenever there's an always or a never, you run with that with your client. The story unfolds. So to be of service is not wrong, but it's not in a balanced state.
I see.
Okay, these aren't in a balanced state. So we want to be of service, but who do we have to serve first? Ourselves. What is the statement in the plane? Put the mask on yourself before you put it on the child or the elderly or the person next to you. But if we don't serve ourselves, it's because we don't think we're worthy, and we saw his wound just from one way, which was through the pregnancy.
Wow.
So the behavior or the exact opposite behavior tells you everything.
I see.
So those are the things we look for. I know nothing, I follow my gut. The logic is being overridden. Because somewhere intuition wasn't allowed. Somewhere that was, put that away. We do not do that in this family. Plus she's German to boot.
Yeah.
So where do we get our unmet need? Where do we get our lack? Where do we get that separation where from the Mahat this separation occurs? Okay? First and foremost, in this embodiment, we get it from our parents. At the moment of conception, whatever your parents' mind was, is your mind. It's the first layer. Okay? Her parents were divide and conquer, someone has to stay home, we gotta make sure that the kids are gonna be taken care of, oh my God, I'm illegal, whatever the thing is, that's in her. That is why I said earlier, if she has a breakup, she probably holds on to the house.
Yeah.
Or you could go the other extreme and say, I don't want anything, I want to be scot-free.
I run.
It's the behavior or the exact opposite.
It's not
That's why
stability,
listening.
the same thing, stability, or
Well, she's gonna
Needs
honor
discipline.
that either way. Whether it's I hold on to this house at no matter what cost, my home country or the country I'm in, or I've got to flee before I'm found. So it's either expression. That's what you're gonna listen to. In your clients, you listen to the all or the never. The always or the never. Last class when we taught, we did that questionnaire, and there was something there about drinking. Who never drinks? Okay, this one of the students was like, I never drink. Right there, I went through and I pulled the string, and the whole family story shows up. So first and foremost, that's why it's important to know your story of conception. What was your parents' state of mind? Remember, it's their prakruti or their vikruti is now yours. It's your manas prakruti. That becomes your mind. So knowing as much as you know, as much as you can know. Now I have a lot of clients that are adopted. They don't know, but I have other tools for them to figure it out. And they do know. But we're just listening right now for the client. Whatever their parents' situation was is now their situation. There has to be a thing there. Then the values. Values come from culture. I'm German. German is logic, is black and white, is engineering, is mathematical.
Yeah.
That's a big one for her. I'm Cuban. Family, enmeshment, codependence. It's like white on rice. Separating from that got me cancer. Like, I mean, that's why you ask these questions in your intake. So you have your culture, you have your gender, you have your nationality, and then just the family value system. And this next activity is going to show us some of your own values. So when you understand that the values that the person is living by, based on religion, culture, nationality, gender, family values, circumstances of living, you understand why there's illness. That is where we self-betray. If my family is Cuban and I must be enmeshed with them, but I want to go away to college, that is a distinct opposition to what my family values are. Because if I live in Australia, or if I live in Colorado, or if I live in Mexico, if I live anywhere else, I have broken the family rule. The minute I stay and don't go away for school, I'm sick. Adi. May not manifest. So we need to know the values of the client, because that's where we self-betray. And that is given to us at the moment of conception, but all the way through childhood, up until 7 years old. So we looked at the manas prakruti, when your parents, their prakruti, vikruti, all of that stuff, their nutrition becomes your mind, all of that. Then we look at the time in the womb. Then we look at the birthing process. We saw all of that. Now we are at 0 to 7. In Western psychology, from 0 to 7 is where the personality is formed, right? Prior to that, we are basically working in the chitta, in the subconscious. We're taking in everything. The subconscious is like this open door. If you walk into my house, you might see my nice little, poster of Ganesh, or you might see my little Sri Yantra on my altar, but your subconscious is seeing everything. When you're from 0 to 7, all those impressions are coming in. So your parents say, Sonia, clean your room, but your mom's room's a mess. Or save money, but she goes extravagantly and spends on a pair of shoes and doesn't pay the bills. So you from 0 to 7 are taking all of that in, and you're like, something is wrong here. They're saying something and doing something different. They're saying money is important and I need to save, and $1 for a slice of pizza is a bargain. But why don't we just get this brand new TV? Why do we have credit cards in a car? There's a mismatch. This is a problem. And those values become what you base it on. But what happens in each of our minds, we do what our parents said. And we violate our true selves. Because we're like, oh, well, to have the loyalty card, I want to say that I want to save money, but my parents bought a new car when they didn't have money, so I'm going to go buy a car when I don't have money. And then we wonder why we're in this vicious cycle. And it's because of our values. This is where what I do in my physical existence doesn't contradict my spiritual existence. If I would have gotten chemo and radiation, there is nothing inherently wrong with chemo and radiation. It happened to be not my philosophy of life. If I honor my sisters or my husband, I'm going to get sicker. No action is bad in and of itself. It's the thought that drives the action. So if you stay in a job that you feel is life depleting, your life depletes. Someone else with that same job, her maybe, it's diving, very much Pisces, working all alone, she'll love it. She'll feel better than ever. Same job.
Yeah.
The behavior has nothing to do with it. It is the thought that drives the behavior. We're going to talk about the Sri Yantra, and that's what that is. The little bindi in the middle is the thought. And then we create all of it around. So it's our values that were imposed at that moment of separation, at the moment of conception, and trickling down till you get your body, you're a fetus, and you become, 0 to 7, that screws you up. Because at every moment, you're like, she said to save money, but she bought new shoes. She said to save money, but she didn't pay the bills. She bought the new car. She said to save money, but she's got credit card debt. You're constantly in this state. And the values that your parents gave you, or the world, or your culture, your ethnicity, your nationality, or your gender, is what's making you react. That's your manas. That's your impulse state. You have no booty there. You are reacting. You are not acting. And until we stop to think, okay, so I'm German, I need a paycheck, I need a job, but damn, there's a whole shitload of jobs. I don't need to be in this job. I could be in a job where there's other people. And think it through, process it, intellect, rationalization. We stay in our old patterns. And so all of our patterns are just autopilot. And then we get sick, or we don't have money to save, or we don't have whatever, we don't have joy, we don't have a relationship, and we wonder why, and then we go into victim. But if we trace it back up to that moment of separation, which is the values that we're going to do now, we understand why everything in our life is exactly in its place. Everything is perfect. But that's why you need a philosophy of life, and that's why studying Ayurveda or any sort of spiritual philosophy teaches you that. Then you get out of victim and you can actually change your life.
Take accountability.
Absolutely. So, on one of your homeworks, I forgot to edit it. On the homework, not the questions of the assignment, you have 2 questions. The first one is about values. You're not going to do that one. You're going to do the other one. So this one we're going to do in class. So I want you to list 3 values that you have and where you got them. And they could be about anything. It could be money, it could be sex, it could be school, it could be job, it could be nature, it doesn't matter.
So this is in the place of A of the assignment?
Exactly. Remember how I wrote on the top, pick one?
Oh, yeah.
The values, and then on the bottom was the Vishnu assignment?
So it's okay to pick one as long as it's B?
Yeah, this time you're going to pick B, yeah. So don't worry about. So write the values, and then we'll break for lunch, and then we'll come back. And
Okay.
is this making sense?
Yeah.
Because it's taking the philosophy, but it's showing you where that moment of separation started and how it now trickles down into your body, into your actions into everything. But this is going to explain why you self-betray, why you're sick, why we are all sick. But if we don't learn to analyze the values that we were given, we don't know why we say thick crust, but we mean thin crust. So we have to understand where we got the separation. That then becomes the ego, etc.
So these values are the ones that are instilled in us as children, or whatever?
Whatever values you have. Marion said earlier, when you're so good at something, what was it?
You do that something. No.
When you're too good at something, you get stuck there or something.
Yeah, if you're too good at something, it's never good to be too good at something.
Right, that's a value. One common one that I get with a lot of clients is money is bad. Money is the root of all evil.
Really?
Yeah.
A lot of people think that. I don't. That's
A lot of religions teach, or they spew that.
Yeah.
That's not what it actually says, but that's what.
exactly.
Yeah.
I like
So, right, me too. But that's why you don't have an issue.
in that department, no.
Exactly, because you have no conflict with your value system. So what you say, what you do, and what you feel, and what you think is all one. And we all have that. We all have areas where we are in health. Those are the problems that don't cause conflict. In the chart, those are called trines. But all of us have areas where we have conflict, where what we say, think, and do, and feel are in contrast to what our parents taught us, what our society taught us. That's what creates illness. And we'll see when we bring it all the way down to the body, what sort of things, organs. We looked already at the pancreas and the liver with Carolina. Of course, there was a lack because of the whole situation around the birth. So those two organs already have a kavaigunya because of something that started at conception when you had nothing to do with it. Because that was in your parents' prakruti vikruti that passed on to you, became your mind, and now your body is saying, look, mom and dad, my liver, my pancreas, I'm like you guys, I'm part of this loyalty card, yay, I'm your family. So we see from that cosmic intelligence down to, that's why spirit matter, it's the same thing. That's why to judge money is kind of silly, because it's just a grosser manifestation of the spirit, right? But if you have a value system around it that it's bad, of course you're going to get sick. Or of course you're not going to meet the rich guy. Or of course you're always going to get fired. Or of course right before you're going to get the Bitcoin $1 million, it drops in price. You created that.
Yeah.
Because you have a value system that says money is bad. And you will prove it till your dying day, unless you have a philosophy of life, unless you have awareness of your value systems. Then you can hold yourself accountable and change it. Everyone got their values?
No.
It's not that.
It could be simple. Think about work, think about relationships. If the man has to pay for everything. Or, you should pay your bills. You should give something back to someone better than what they gave it to you. You should always be on time. You should give your mother-in-law the better gift instead of your mother. Those are all values. And all of them speak tons. I'll decipher them for you, not to worry. So pick any one, I will break it down. We're always saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We're not that complicated. We just wear a lot of different clothes.
It's a common
It's one
theme we
theme.
have here, yeah.
And that's the beauty of this embodiment. God, spirit, you, whatever you want to call it, decided I'm going to come to work on this one thing.
Mm-hmm.
We were not given 100 tasks to work on. We were given this one thing, and this embodiment is about this one thing. That's why what you say, what you do, the acorn, the oak tree, whether you tell me your gestation story, whether you tell me the fight you had with your boyfriend last night, it boils down to that one seed. And that is that moment where we have that separation of the ahankar, where that mind is created, where the separation exists from that universal mind to the individual I mind. That holds the entire seed of everything that is your life. I know. Who wants to turn this off? It's like,
It's so good.
I'm like at a Broadway show all the time. I'll tell you something that I learned. And it's beautiful that you are literally in the wound every day. And the way my guidance explained it to me. A lot of people come to me to learn their passion or their purpose of life. The beauty of these activities that we're doing is that they're going to make it very clear to you. You can call it your wound, you can call it the moment of separation, you can call it the ego, you can call it, whatever you want. I'll just use wound for the example. That is your wound. My guides say that to find your purpose, you go into that wound every day. So this was the example. There's this woman whose son died in a hospital with a drug addiction, a drug overdose. And later on, I don't know if she went back to school or what she had to do, but she got that job where she's the person who tells the family members that the person died. So she's consistently entering her wound day in and day out. Because here, what you manifested of not going that deep, because that's sort of scary and I don't really want to know what's down there, we have to enter that space every day. What most of us do is we put a Band-Aid and we don't clean the wound. If you put a Band-Aid on a client or stitch them up without cleaning the wound, what would happen?
You're gonna get an infection.
You're gonna get an infection, it's gonna be pussy, it could spread to sepsis. That's what we do with our mind. We cover it up. So what do? We chase. We have a desire. Oh my God, I want that necklace. Oh my God, I want this. Oh my God, I want that guy. Oh my God, I want that car. And we're constantly just putting this Band-Aid and no one goes in and cleans deep the wound. So when Carolina was talking about all those little happy, joy, beautiful words, there's depth that needs to be, wounds need to be cleaned out of there. That's why we go to that seed. In that wound, you discover, Joseph Campbell, famous mythologist, said, the cave you fear to enter is the one that holds your gold. So you're afraid to enter the depth of that pain. But when you do, wow. And what happens to me is I am a Pisces. And I am a person who is delusional, beyond delusion. That is one of the reboots. That is our word. I can fall in love. I can create, talk about Broadway, I can create anything I want. If I want to believe that your shirt is green, I am that delusional. So this work, every time I enter, forces me to remain in reality. Because what I told you earlier, the client that sits in my chair is mirroring back to me. So it's like constant loop of me entering, don't stay in delusion, because my guides, I can't delude the client.
Right.
I can delude myself, but I can't delude you. So if I tell it to you, I've got to go and journal, damn, I have that. And so my work, and that's what your vocation is, it's not a profession, it's a vocation. When you find your purpose, your passion, you are in your vocation. Vocation means to call, it's a calling. So I know that the work I do is a calling, because it forces me to enter my wound every day and keep myself checked in reality, in this earth, in this body, because my tendency is not. So when you understand your tendency, which is all these things that we're doing, you will be called for a profession or service or whatever it is, to enter that wound all the time, to continue reminding you that that's the seed, that's this journey, that's this embodiment, that's the purpose of this lifetime. So that's what the magnitude of understanding this is. I can't even tell you. It's everything. It is everything. Everyone has their values? Yeah. Okay, so we're going to break for lunch. We'll be back at 2, and then we're going to do our values activity.